So there are many methods to observe the breath, Anapana. And each meditation teacher has his own method. And I still doesn't know really how to be aware of the breath. So most of the time, I only simply know the in-breath and out-breath. So, is it right or not?
The process, the practice of meditation, method, time, place, and experience are created truth. All the created truths are to use only, to experience only, to do only, to know only, not to reject and not to attach. This right understanding is very important in everywhere, every time, and every action. If there is no right understanding in us, we will think we are important. What we are doing is important. What method we are using is important. What happened to us is important. We must use ourselves. We must not attach ourselves. We must use the method. We must not attach to the method. We must practice meditation. We must not attach to the practice of meditation. We must have meditation experience. We must not attach to the meditation experience. We are taking care of too much to ourselves. We are taking care of too much to the method we are using. We must abandon our habits and we must take care of the truth to use only, without attachment. Practice of meditation or practice of mindfulness with detachment is to use only, not to attach. There will also be various meditation teachers. These teachers are also to use only, to experience only. not to attach. There are many meditators, including ourselves. Each of the meditators is to use only, to experience only, not to attach, not to misunderstand as reality. There will also be various methods of breathing. All methods are to use only, not to attach. To know the created truth as created truth is important. If we don't know the created truth as created truth, we will misunderstand created truth as original truth or ultimate truth. Misunderstanding created truth as original truth is also to use only, to experience only, not to attach. Knowing created truth as created truth is also to use only, to experience only without attachment. Our traditional understanding is also to use only, to experience only without attachment. Understanding like this is also to use only, to experience only without attachment. The real problem is misunderstanding and attachment, which is controlling ourselves and all our actions. Who we are is not the real problem. The practice of meditation we are doing is also not the problem. What method of breathing we are using is also not the problem. Understanding and not understanding happening in us is also not the problem. Misunderstanding and attachment, which is controlling each of our action, is real problem. Because of misunderstanding, we are knowing wrongly not someone as someone, not something as something, not important as importance. We should not pay attention to what we understand. We must understand the truth of our normal understanding, which is to use only without attachment. Who we are is not the problem. Paying attention to ourselves is real problem. How we meditate is not the problem. Paying attention to our action is real problem. Our habitual actions are controlled by misunderstanding and attachment. We must be mindful. We must also try to abandon our habitual action. If we are not trying to abandon our habitual action, we are not following the middle way. We all must understand completely, and we all must try to practice completely. So we can be mindful on breathing in and breathing out, but we must try to abandon paying attention to ourselves and to our actions.
According to Abhidhamma, one consciousness can appear at one time. When observing mind or mindfulness, sati, appears, the previous mind has already disappeared. While the previous mind is arising, the mindfulness or other mind cannot arise at the same time, apparently. According to Citta Niyama, the law of mental process. But in our meditation practice, the observing mind or mindfulness is seeing the other mind, or thinking or feeling is arising, existing for a while, or for a certain period, and then passing away. That means two minds are existing at one time, i.e., the observing mind and the objective mind, or feeling or thinking, which is seen, which is being observed, are existing together at a time. In fact, according to the law of Citta Niyama, one mind at one time. Only when the mind has totally already disappeared, mindfulness or observing mind can arise. The present momentary happening as the mindful mind only. While meditating on mindfulness arises. So, is it correct to say that in contemplating of mind, Cittanupassana, one mind as seeing the other mind, is arising, existing for a certain period, and then passed away. Is present moment happening, which is mindfulness only, or the other minds being seen, such as thinking, thoughts, emotion, and feeling hotness, coldness, tightness, looseness, and good or bad things, why mindfulness arises.
Why mindfulness arises? The present moment happening is mindfulness only. The present momentary awareness of mindfulness itself is taking and seizing at the rate of 1 trillion times per the blink of the eyes. That's why the pleasant action of mindfulness itself cannot be grasped and misunderstood as something. We must try to be aware of the taking and seizing pleasant momentary truth, which has no piece of person or something. The original impermanent nature is just taking and seizing pleasant momentary truth. To be able to understand the original truth, original impermanent nature, we have to be mindful and detached from our body and mind. The original impermanent nature or constant seizing pleasant momentary truth is not the truth of our body and mind or created truth. If we don't know the original truth, we will misunderstand created truth or created cause and effect as true. Usually, we can understand only the created cause and created effect. All our physical, oral and mental actions are created cause. Our body and mind and whatever happens in our body and mind are created effect or result. our daily activities and meditation are also created cause. All the methods we are using, all the time, all the place are also created effect. All knowing and not knowing happen in our mind are also created effect. All the created cause and effects are to do only, to experience only, to know only, to use only, without attachment and misunderstanding as reality. If we do not meditate, we will understand we are using the same mind, which is permanent the whole life. We will also misunderstand our life is permanent the whole until we die. We can also misunderstand death is the end of everyone. Nothing will happen after death. We can also misunderstand there is no effect doing when we do good deeds. So also we may misunderstand there is no effect when we do evil things. If we don't know the original truth, we will misunderstand created cause and effect as reality. Although we are practicing meditation, we will misunderstand one mind is seeing the other mind until we know the original impermanent nature. Dying at one mind is true. Before we focus on breathing, we must know that breathing first. We are used to be mindful on the breath. We can be mindful before we are focused on the breath. We must know the breath first. Knowing of the breath must happen first. After that, focusing mind can happen. Awareness of breath have already disappeared when focusing mind appears. Although the breath is happening all the time, we cannot focus on the breath we don't know. In the process of focusing on the breath, knowing of breath have already disappeared before appearing the focusing mind. In reality, we cannot, although we focus on the breath, we cannot know the breath. We can only know the disappearing of the awareness of the breath. In fact, we can know only the pleasant moment taking mind. That's why knowing of breathing and mindfulness is not the complete understanding. All our actions are controlled by misunderstanding and attachment. That's why, although we are practicing mindfulness, we cannot, our knowing in the beginning will not be complete. Wrong view or misunderstanding is hidden or covering the truth. In the beginning of mindfulness practice, we will know breathing, feeling, and then we can know appearing and disappearing process. And then we can know the constant seizing pleasant momentary truth. And then we must understand knowing of constant seizing present momentary truth itself is constant seizing pleasant momentary truth. This kind of knowing is knowing the original impermanent nature. After that, the last knowing is knowing of original permanent nature. To be able to understand step by step like this, we must follow the middle way. Mindfulness with detachment is middle way. If we know the original impermanent nature and original permanent nature, we will not misunderstand created cause and effect as reality. At that time, we can clearly understand the truth to use only, to do only, to know only, to experience only, without attachment, which is the truth of all created cause and effect.
So, in your teaching, you always mention that we should not attach to the pain, and we should not attach to the feeling. And I understand that the pain is only pain, the feeling is only feeling. So in one sitting, suddenly I had the pain, and my head becomes very heated. And just observe in the mind, and until I see that the mind becomes equanimous or balanced, and gradually the pain disappears. So in this case, does it mean that I don't get attached to the pain or to the feeling when my head becomes heated?
To abandon the idea of someone is more easy than to abandon the idea of something. The idea of someone is concerned with the with our body. The idea of something is especially concerned with our mind. To know the impermanence or decay of the body is easy to understand. But to know the impermanence and decay of the mind, of our mind, is difficult. If we can abandon the idea of someone or the person, we must continue to abandon the idea of something. We are used to know pain and feeling with the idea of something. If the pain appears, we may misunderstand something appears. If the pain continues, we may misunderstand something is happening continuously. Although if we know the appearing and disappearing of the pain, we are misunderstanding. The misunderstanding of something is still remaining. Finally, when the pain disappears, the misunderstanding of something still remains. In this way, although we understand impermanence, that impermanence is impermanence of something. The original constant ceasing truth is not something. To be able to abandon the idea of something, we must detach from our mind and whatever appears in our mind. We must also try to abandon the habit of paying attention to the mind. Our desire to be peace of mind is also paying attention to the peaceful mind. Our desire to be healthy is also paying attention to the healthy life. we must try all our habits or our mental actions. In this way, we can be real right understanding and detachment. If there is the higher right understanding and detachment, our desire will be less and less and disappear. By examining our desire, we can understand whether we are right or wrong. If we are practicing mindfulness with detachment, we can understand our desire. The more we are skillful in mindfulness with detachment, the more and more we will know about our various desires. If we don't know our desire, we cannot know the permanent disappearance of our desire. Only when we know the desire which is happening in us, we can also know the disappearing or not appearing of desire. We will share our merits. May all merits we have done till now be dedicated to all sentient beings. May all beings rejoice and share in our merits.
Sadhu, sadhu.